Hey everyone, I'm Arier, and this is going to be a look into the Destiny's secret missions, because there's certain things they all have in common, certain aspects that make them good. What is a good bit of a secret mission? Because we all know what a bad secret mission is. I'm looking at you, Sleeper Simulant. This is one of those interesting pieces where there's a lot of secret missions in this game at this point. There's the hidden parts of Cade's stash, which are extra story. There's the missions you can't see for the Sleeper, which disappear when you finish them. Annoying. And then you have this one on the moon, which you might have heard about. Lost to the Light, which when you put it on hard mode, you get the black spindle. There's a lot of little missions like that. And then they had the not so hidden, but somewhat unmentioned, like the Touch of Malice, where you had to collect the calcified fragments. And there's even the one hidden mission that is confirmed in Rise of Iron, which would be going to the Iron Temple and playing the song. It does nothing but get a little achievement, but technically it counts as a hidden mission. There's no announcement, and the only clue you have is that Saladin talks about the Iron Song, and then you can do it, and something happens. These are all the different little hidden missions so far, and God knows, there's probably something hidden in Iron Tomb, maybe a few of the other places. I'm trying to lean more towards Iron Tomb, if those smokestacks lean toward anything. But what they all have in common is there's different variations on how they go about it. Oh, I should also mention for completionist's sake that on Venus there's also a paradox. Yeah, this thing, secret mission there. No time to explain. Get the ghost, go in there, do stuff. Make sure you have a fire tape because it's still bullshit hard. Now, what these secret missions all have in common is that, with the exception of the Sleeper, they were unannounced. They were slid into the game, and you discover them by moving throughout it. And for the most part, they're all very good because they show little bits about the world and how they interact. But there's good points and bad points. The good points are having to find it, having no idea what's going on, not seeing anything. It's the sheer lack of information that makes them interesting, because you know they're there, but you're not sure where to find it. So you explore everything, and it not only does it give the game more of a shelf life, which I'm sure Bungie likes, but it makes you really focus on little details. Like, just a bit ago, I was running the Ishtar Archives. Yeah, just the Archives mission. Nothing in there, but I noticed something because I was looking around more thoroughly, that right when you get into the Archives, off in the little corner where you see the skeletons, there's two of them that are just entwined in a hug, and they died like that. It's like, oh dear God, the story behind that alone is they had to have poisoned themselves and died because something was so terrible they couldn't bear to live. Because that's the only way that kind of thing happens. You don't blow yourself off and still die in a hug. And you don't get killed in that position because they don't let you hug each other then kill you. The only way to do that is through poisoning. It's like, oh dear God, what the hell happened that that was something they thought was a good idea, or that that was a better option? Little things like that are in the game. They're hidden, but they're not pointed out. And it implies something absolutely terrible. We know the collapse was bad, but we don't know anything about it. And that's one of the only clues you could really find. Even the grimoire. And don't get me started on the bullshit of all that out-of-game stuff. It's very empty on what that was. Even when Rasputin is directly talking about it, it comes down to, I don't really know what I'm seeing. You just know it was bad. It was bad enough people would do some terrible things. But when it comes to the secret missions, though, they're a lot like that. The best ones, I honestly believe, my favorites are the Black Spindle, because the sheer absurd difficulty of it, but it was an easy trigger. There's no complicated rules or regulations or jump-in points like in the No Time to Explain, which those three ghosts, unless you knew where they were in advance, that is such bullshit to trigger, because you have to look for them, you have to find them, you have to get all three of them, you have to not die. No, actually, never mind, you can die in that one, because I died a ton getting into it. But you have to get all three of them in that one mission, and then you gotta beat the boss, who is very difficult. Now, while I like everything after getting the ghosts is a bit of a limiting factor on the secret mission, as opposed to the No Time to Explain, the Black Spindle, which, as long as you go into that one section without dying, you just get in. It's on a time limit rather than a finding limit. And then there's the best indication of what a bad hidden mission is. It doesn't come up, so just bear with me on this. That would be all the BS that was the sleeper missions. Because while there were interesting parts of it, you have to find random pieces that just drop. So right off the bat, if they don't drop for you, you're never going to get it. And they don't drop often. Now, we're spending a lot more time on Earth now, so it's probably easier for a lot of people who didn't bother in year 2. But after that point, you had to run the missions. There were some interesting ones, but for the most part, it was a matter of, okay, you got something. Now here, let's go to the next step. And we alter the mission so things happen. There's one point where you fight a bunch of knights. And that was okay. And then they made a giant techno Taken knight, which was actually really cool. No idea why it was in Rasputin's bunker. It was just there. No real reason given for why it was in Rasputin's bunker. It was just there. No idea how it was created. It was just there. No backstory, no after story. It was just there. And the entire thing you need to take away from there is the lineup where the knights all spawned, with one was a Taken, one was a Hive, and you had to take that, correlate it into a string of zeros and ones, and put it into the code. And it's like, why? That's just underwhelming in its why-ness. You can even say it's a weeness, but that would actually give weenesses, yeah, that's actually part of the body, this thing right here, a bad impression. Yeah, just weird little body names. It was all the hype. This gun would be amazing. And because of that, we expected the mission to get it to be something epic. And Bungie dropped the ball because while the gun was good, I, for one, and a lot of other people, hated the gun right off the bat because getting it was underwhelming. It was the one cardinal sin of gaming. It was boring. Now, the gun itself, I have come around. It is amazing. The perk to Ricochet is stupid as hell. Honestly, if you get the gun and never buff it up, that's fine. The perks to Ricochet are useless. But the gun itself hits like a mother. And it can get precision, which is amazing. Now, the good news is Bungie has learned a little from its mistakes. They still make a ton. But with Beauty and Delivery and Rise of Iron, these stories have some amazing features. Sorry, not Rise of Iron, A Symbol of Honor. This one, it takes you to the Cosmodrome. Sorry, not the Cosmodrome. This one takes you into the tower, one of the older towers, so the Bannerfall map. Technically, you're not really sure how many there are because there's actually multiple towers. They might all look the same because, Titans probably seem to build all the things the same. But when you run this one, you get not only a fun mission where the Fallen finally assault the city in some way, shape, or form, which really probably should have been put a bigger emphasis on. But yeah, not only do you finally get to fight back and assault on the city, it's the only time that happens in game, but you also get little bits of hidden story about how this was created by this one guy and had all this impact back during the first bits of the city where it was actually very tumultuous. And it's like, oh my god, there's story in this. And even though it's just a reuse of a map, because of the little bits of story and because of the interesting aspects of having to hold off an attack finally, it's interesting. And then, even better, when you come down here for the ending of it, Beauty and Delivery. Oh, this one, you go into one of the really old Year 1 maps that you had to drive around on. So it's a PvP map that you almost never see now because it involves vehicles. And those almost never come up. And when they do, they're kind of boring, actually. That's just personal opinion. They're stupid. But it ends with you getting the Gjallarhorn, and Bungie gives you the one thing you always wanted. The ability to take the Gjallarhorn and just keep shooting. It gives you 2 fallen walkers and all the enemies you can deal with, and then some. And you just go to town with practically infinite heavy ammo because there's drops everywhere. And it is glorious fun. And that is amazing. Now, the problem with this is it's not a hidden mission. You knew from the get-go this was a thing. All you have to do is find the Iron Lord artifacts, collect them all, which are easily marked. Once you find one of them from the Anomaly mission, it's a patrol mission in the Archon's Keep, you run that one, you get the first one. You find the rest, you go back to Shiro and Saladin and Tyra, you get the items, and you start running these missions. So while they're not announced, you knew they were there not only because of the record book, but because Bungie came out and said they were there. But they've had hidden missions. The Song of Iron, which in my personal opinion is a bullshit mission because it requires such a annoying level of timing that I can never seem to get it done, no matter how many people I drag in. We dragged a 6th one just to stand at the 6th one because there was no reason for it, but why not? Nothing. There are good and bad missions, but based on all of what Bungie's done so far, what makes a good hidden mission isn't the quality of the mission itself. It's what you do in the mission and how it enhances the game. Just a little bit of story saying why this matters to the story. Because there's so little of that in Destiny that every implication is a jewel. And at this point, from a player base, a player base that loves to hate parts of the game, when we find these little things, we fawn over them. I love Cade's stash because it shows you a bit about Cade. There's nothing to it. You don't get anything. But just going in there... No, that's Kings of Decay. It's just... Where is Cade's stash anyways? Oh, there it is. You find out more about him. And you learn more about him. And it is just fascinating that he has a backstory. And there was a love interest in all the different little things. It's like, they say so little, but you learn so much about him. Just like, especially when he decides the conversation has become too personal and you have to cut it off there. Because it finally gets to something that he's not going to joke about. And the entire Taken King mission kind of proves he's okay with joking about a lot. That is what makes a good mission in Destiny, especially a good secret mission. It's just something that makes you feel more connected to the game. And it's why the sleeper missions were so disconnected and because of that so bad. You never really got any idea of why this mattered. And they started to come around on that. What this means for Rise of Iron, though, is that when you get a secret mission, something hidden in the end, they've already said there's going to be them. That they're going to be at the end. And I can only hope that what they do is tie that in to make it much more useful. If there's a way to save the fallen Iron Lords at the end, I don't think that's possible, but that would be awesome because light is bullshit. I doubt that would be it because that would be a big change. But it would be awesome. What would be even more practical and really good is have that secret mission be a tie-in to Destiny 2. Kind of like how, like the outbound signal was showing that the Cabal are going to be something in the future because they sent a signal off to the head of the Cabal and they're asking for reinforcements. Kind of like that is saying, hey, we got big shit planned and it's going to be freaking awesome. Something like that, just like a lead-in. Maybe if we're running the Iron Tomb and the Cabal break in, and it's a 3-way massive fight between Sivified Guardians, us, and these Cabal war beasts that are just tearing through us because they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And there's even precedence. The Cabal did have one mission of Rise of Iron. Just the one, and it was on Mars, because or else we'd find Cabal. But seeing them on Earth alone would be fascinating, because it would imply they're expanding. And that's something you don't really see in this game. You don't really see changes in the dynamic. You know where one group is, you know where the other group is. And after the House of Wolves, they kind of stayed in their locations. Not really sure how to include the Dreadnought in that because that was a new setting, so people just kind of went there. And technically, the Cabal lost places on Mars to the Taken, but you don't really get the feel of that because Phobos, the moon, you don't really go to unless you're in the mission itself. But what Destiny needs to do, and what they've started to do, is tie the story in. They've done that with the Gjallarhorn missions. Thorn is kind of bullshit, but that's a side mission that you... Okay, it actually has a lot of story at this point, but that's Grimoire's story. Yeah, I think people can realize my opinion on that. To be fair, it's an amazing story, and I would recommend you read it. It's actually that good. But the fact that you can't get it in-game is stupid. But yeah, that's my opinion. The best thing you can do for a good hidden mission, what makes a good hidden mission, is that it's relevant to the story, and it offers us something that makes the story better. It's not hard. Even little things could do that. But you have to make the point to do it. Well, that's my spiel. Later.